we're standing here today sweating, urging parents, guardians, anybody who's in control of a child, do not leave them in a car. Don't take that chance. And we have some say, well, we're leaving it in the car and the air conditioner's running. It doesn't take but a minute for that car to stop, the engine running, and then it heats up. Unfortunately, this week we lost a 4-year-old to the same thing, where a 4-year-old was able to get in a car that was not running. That child died from heating. So it is hot. We're urging people. It's only going to get hotter. The summer here in the Columbia area gets terribly hot. And it doesn't take the 100-degree temperature for a child to lose its life. So we're urging everybody, today, please be aware of that. We're always telling you, lock your cars, don't leave anything valuable in your car. That includes your child. Please do not leave your child unattended in a car, truck, any motor vehicle at all. They could lose their life. Coroner Gary Watts is going to talk about the unfortunate tragedy that we had this week that I think that we should all learn from. I hope the parents and guardians, grandparents that are listening to this will, take heed. It does happen. It only takes a couple minutes for it to happen. So please, let's protect our children.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank y'all. Unfortunately, as the Sheriff said Wednesday, we had the death of a 4-year-old name of Zion Akrafon. I think you've got the correct spelling in your release there. This was a situation where the family didn't leave him in the car. He went back out and got in the car. And this is why we stress not only not leaving your child in the car, but also making sure when you get out of the car that you lock it to stop these children from being curious. 4-year-old children are curious. We don't know exactly why he climbed back into the vehicle. We have a couple of ideas that he may have been wanting to go to the park, or he may have been playing with a toy. But we don't know for sure. But the fact of the matter is, if the car is locked, the children can't get in. On a day like today, it's 90 degrees out here right now. The inside of that vehicle within 15 to 20 minutes is going to be over 120 degrees. A child's organs starts to shut down when this core temperature reaches 104 degrees. Children are more susceptible than healthy adults, and obviously older people are also more susceptible to the heat. But in a matter of 15 to 20 minutes, a child can be overcome in a vehicle and suffer irreparable damages and end up dying from that hypothermia. And that's what we had this week. It was a horrible, tragic accident, and it's one of the situations where we can do something about that. If we can educate the public and let you know that there are ways to prevent this. And so that's why we're here today to stress, please, please make sure that your children are out of the vehicle, they're not left, and that when you do get out of the vehicle, whether you have a child or not, in your neighborhood, lock up your car. Keep another child from playing hide and go seek and getting in the car and not being able to get out. Okay, thank you.
Let's don't have this 4-year-old who lost his life this week, life be in vain. Let's learn from it. Let's everybody take and make something positive out of it by protecting our children. We can do it. It doesn't take long for you just to make sure that they're not in the car and lock your car. Let's protect our children out here. Let's not rely on them to protect ourselves. That's what we have to do as adults. Questions?
How many calls a year do you get for a child in a car?
This is the first child that we've actually had die in a vehicle in the last 3 or 4 years. There are calls for assistance. We hear them on the radio all the time where people are calling in saying there's a child in a car, and they'll call for the sheriff's department or the fire department to come get them out. But this is the first child that we've had in the last 3 or 4 years that has died as a result of being in the vehicle.
What do you think is the biggest factor in child hot car deaths? Is it just parents not paying attention? Are they preoccupied?
I think that can happen. I think parents can be preoccupied, especially if they're working. They've got a lot going on. Things can change. If something happens as minor as a type of change in their regular schedule, they don't typically take the child to day school, or they do take the child to day school, and that changes, it can throw them off. And so it's just it's a matter of being hyper vigilant to make sure that you check in your vehicle when you have a child, period. Whether you've taken that child somewhere or not, just always make it a habit to check the back seat to make sure that somebody hadn't gotten in there.
Coroner Lott, you talked about how people have left kids in cars and the car's still running, thinking it's okay to do that. If there's a kid in the back seat and the car's running and the air conditioner's not working properly, it could still happen, correct?
That's exactly what the sheriff was talking about. Even if the air conditioner is working properly, the car can shut off. And it's just too big of a chance. Too big of a chance to take.
And just don't think you can leave the windows down and they're going to get a breeze. That car is going to heat up. You know, the car that we got behind us is a dark colored car. They heat up faster. You know, light colored cars heat up. You just can't do that. And you know,
Even parking in the shade.
Parking in the shade, that's not reasonable. You're still taking a chance. But you know, our kids are curious. They ride in cars. You know, unfortunately, in this situation, this 4-year-old went back and got into the car without the parents knowing about it. And it didn't take long for the child to lose its life. So again, that's your child. You know, let's pay attention to it. Let's make sure that child is safe. That is our responsibility. Do not place it on that 4-year-old or your child. That is us, up to adults to do that.
I got a question. There's some cases here when children perish, they die because they were left in a car or accidentally got in one. But there's other cases when a child's just left in a car, and I hear police are often come out often for that. But I understand there's an element of, you know, that might be kind of a crime against the poor almost, you know, because some parents are preoccupied. Certainly they shouldn't leave their kid in the car, but if they got to run into, I've heard people doing an interview, you know, for work and they can't bring their kid in, or they have an appointment for something else and they can't bring their kid in. How do y'all address that as law enforcement? And
There's no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse. You got to pre-plan. That's your child. It's up to you to take care of that child. Don't rely on somebody else, or don't rely on the temperature not to be so hot. That is your child, and you got to find some way to protect your child. So we place that responsibility on the parents. That's not law enforcement. That's not the community. That falls entirely on the parents. That is your child. You take care of your own child.
is there any tips maybe you could give to somebody who says, hey, I have to do this job interview, I've lost my child care, I can't bring the child in? Would you say, bring the child in anyway? Doesn't matter.
Bring the child in. Hopefully if you go in for a job interview, they're going to understand. You know, most people are parents or grandparents. They understand if there's an issue with that. And to me, that just shows that your child's more important than anything else. And as an employer, I look at an employee who cares about their family. Family comes first. And this thing about I'm only going to be in the store for a minute. You know, we talk about all the time, it doesn't take but a minute for your car to get stolen. You leave it there sitting there running. We had that last week in Columbia, where a child was left in a car. The car was left running. Somebody stole the car. Fortunately, that child was recovered very quickly. It could have ended very tragically.
And as an employer, I would certainly feel better about a potential employee to know that they have the responsibility to take their child out of the car instead of leaving the child in the car.
Yeah, that's not a theoretical situation.
No,
either.
that's just, it is. It is.
Yeah.
There is no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, and we're
One
going
more
to
question.
go ahead. Sorry.
We do this every year, it seems like. We have to remind people. Why is it important to always keep this on the radar, to remind people when you think this is something that everyone should keep in mind anyway?
Well, it's hot. It's that time of year. It's hot. And unfortunately, we had it happen this week. And I think that should be a tragic reminder to all of us that it can happen, and it will happen if you don't take steps to stop it. So yeah, I wish we didn't have to encourage parents to be parents, but sometimes we do, and that's what we're doing today.
And the other part of that I would add to it, Sheriff, is that we're trying to be proactive. Okay, we work very close together with our programs on safe sleep, and this situation is the same thing. These are totally preventable deaths, and it's something that we can proactively pursue. And so we want to keep it on the minds of everybody. And if we have to do it 2 or 3 times a year, we're willing to do that to make sure that people get the message.
If an individual finds a car and there's a kid in there, say, we end up going to a shopping center or a grocery store, what should we do as citizens? Should we take action immediately?
Don't take action immediately, and that means call us. Call 911. Either law enforcement will respond or the fire department's going to respond. We're going to get there. Let's err on the safe side. Don't say, well, somebody else is going to do it, or I don't. You know, I'm not going to stick my nose in somebody else's business. Let's protect that child. I'd rather be safe than sorry. And if we get there and everything's fine, that's good. We've protected that child. All right, let's
Thank y'all.
show you how hot it is.
Sorry, temperature-wise on Fahrenheit, I'm sorry, right at 110 in the short period of time that we were
in
here.
there. We only put it in since when we started this press conference. So this press conference has been
Less
not
than
even
10 minutes.
Less than 10 minutes. You see what it is already.
And the outside temperature today was what, about 90?
Supposedly.
Yeah, so it's gone up. It's gone up over 20 degrees in less than 10 minutes.
And it's getting hotter. I hear
Oh,
y'all's
sorry,
weather
sorry.
stations all the time. It's getting hotter.